Welcome to my presentation on how to read journal articles. I am Dr. Jason White. One of the very first things I do is make sure the journal article appears valid. Does it have face validity? Does the title seem to describe the entire article? Is the article from a journal known to be peer review? Does it loosely follow the 5 components of research methods, such as an observation and research question, literature review, research design and data collection instruments, results and analysis, and conclusion and recommendations for future research? Does the abstract describe the entire article? According to the APA, abstracts are supposed to summarize the article in a specific way. And as a side note, journals have specific formats and processes on how to publish articles with their journal. All of them generally follow the American Psychological Association's publication manual in the latest edition. For the example journal article in this presentation, we will be using Schwer's and Mahoney's 2012 article, Birth Order, Position, and Prosocial Tendencies. The abstract for this study reads like this. This study investigated the relationship between psychological birth order position and different types and levels of prosocial tendencies. An ex post facto between family research design was used. Data on prosocial tendencies were obtained from 888 college students. Participants completed a biographical questionnaire as well as the prosocial tendencies measure. Data were analyzed to compare and contrast prosocial tendencies between demographics using parametric ANOVAs, or analysis of variances, t-test, and the Mann-Whitney test. Significant differences in prosocial tendency scores were only found between middleborns and lastborns on altruism, with the middleborns scoring significantly higher in prosocial tendencies than lastborns. There is no evidence to suggest that a definitive link between prosocial tendencies and birth order exists in this study. So then the next section I skip to is the literature review, which oftentimes is the introduction or is not specifically labeled as the literature review. I know that this article stems from Alfred Adler's research. Alfred Adler was a psychoanalyst who worked with Freud and had a disagreement with Freud. So I know that his ideas may be very similar to Freud's, but are still significantly different, enough for him to have his own brand of psychology, which he called individual psychology. If you're not aware, Alfred Adler was known for studying and researching birth order, and he believed that firstborns, for example, tended to be leaders. The next step is to locate the specific purpose of the article. This is sometimes discussed in the introduction, the literature review, or under its own subheading. The reason I like to look for the purpose is because there's often more to the question than what is discussed in the abstract. Here we can see that the goals of the study, or the purpose of the study, is, in view of mixed findings of birth order effects on prosocial tendencies, the study examined birth order position effects on the level and type of an individual's prosocial tendencies. The study thus set out to establish the precise relationship between birth order position and prosocial tendencies. Once I know the purpose of the study, I like to skip to the discussion and conclusion to read in detail what the findings were. After reading about the findings, I like to skip back to the methods section to read about the research procedures. Does the methodology make sense? Is it what I would expect? Does it support the findings? As an example, who are the participants? Were they diverse and representative enough of the population we are trying to draw a conclusion about? The procedure basically discusses that the research was approved by some sort of institutional review board, while the instrumentation section discusses the prosocial tendencies measure in terms of being a Likert scale. The correlation coefficient mentioned here is a reliability test on the measure. A coefficient of 0.81 is pretty strong, meaning the measure measures what it purports to. Now we come to the data analysis section of the journal article. Don't freak out. Generally, I have to study this section over for a while in order to completely understand it. An ANOVA, or analysis of variance, is generally done when we have more than one independent variable. In this situation, the dependent variables are subscale scores on the prosocial tendencies measure, or PTM, and the independent variables are the four groups: firstborn, middleborn, lastborn, and only child. In Table 1, we see that the variance is accounted for to 100%. The t-test is a calculation of the mean or average difference between groups. Again, the t-test is a calculation of the mean or average difference between groups. So we're looking at how these groups are different, or how significantly different these groups are. This number, along with the degrees of freedom, tell us the statistical significance when we cross-reference a statistical significance chart typically found in the back of any old statistics book. This table, Table 2, is a summary of the data. The results section is a presentation of data. It appears that the authors also noted further analysis here. However, the original data did not show a significant difference between birth order and scores on the prosocial tendency measure. Lastly, we want to know what the limitations of the study were. How was the research impeded? The big question at this point is, does the research answer the research question, and does the analysis support the conclusion? There was one other journal article included in this PowerPoint. I did not go over it in this presentation. I will post the 2 journal articles and this PowerPoint to Blackboard for you to review. That concludes this presentation. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.